In drawing terms, we have what's called the circle family. I will email you a little handout I have on this, so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to, but if you want to. And the circle family is anything roundish with no sharp edges. So a circle can be this, but it can also be this, or kind of egg-shaped, or big, or small. So the circle family is anything that's roundish. Can you see how that might be helpful in drawing? Can anybody see that? If we're trying to simplify and you want to draw a circle-ish shape, it's easier to kind of in your mind if you think of a circle in this expanded way. So in my favorite book on drawing, which is Drawing with Children, there's a definition called 5 families of shape. The circle family is one of them. The dot family is just like the circle family. So it's anything roundish with no sharp edges, except that dots are filled in. And then somebody tell me the shape of the doorway. Look at your doorway and shout out what that shape is.
Rectangle. Right.
However, we do not have a rectangle family of shape. We have straight lines. These are the final 3. We have angle lines. And we have curve lines. And by the way, Osiris, I also wanted to say that I am also self-taught. So a lot, and I didn't start drawing and painting until I was 30. And so I remember very clearly the pain of not knowing how to draw. It's very like, I mean, it's been 20 years, 22 years. The pain of that is still quite close to me. And so all my classes are kind of designed on giving you tools to help you think beyond it. So in any event, we've got straight lines can be thick, they can be thin, they can be little, they can be big. Angle lines are just 2 lines put together. They can be wide, they can be narrow. And curved lines are just curved. They can be big, they can even be curly like a snail shell. So taking a look at these families of shape, in these families of shape, what is the shape of the door?
Straight and angle.
Yeah, could be a 1 straight line or 2 angle lines put together, right?
Oh, I thought it was the arc down there.
The circle for the, well, unless you have a curved doorway.
Some people do.
That's true. That's true. So the shape of your rectangular doorway will be broken into angle lines, right? Angle lines and straight lines. So instead of thinking of it as a rectangle, we can kind of build everything, and we're going to build a drawing today using these 5 families of shape. Now, quickly, take a look at this drawing and tell me how many families of shape are represented here. Can you guys, I want to make sure you really see that.
2.
Which ones?
3.
Straight line and the one underneath.
Straight lines, angle lines, yep.
And the curve.
And curve lines. Are there any dots or circles?
No.
Okay.
Circle down there at the bottom.
Well, is it a circle or is it a curve line?
Curve.
I don't know, the line ends, so the
right.
horizon.
So from what we can see, it's only a curve line, right? So notice how your right brain, so this is very interesting. We're going to talk about all of this, what happens, how we try to anticipate, how we try, right, without really knowing. So it's true, this might be a circle, but we don't know that. All we can see is that right now we can see a curve line. So I want you guys to draw a box like this, and I would like you to copy what's here down here. And if you'd like, I'll take a picture and send it across the thread so that you can see it close. Yay. I'm really happy you're here, Osiris. I know we've like gone back and forth about getting into classes. So it just makes me really happy. All right, there we are. So you guys should have it on the thread.
I did mine while you were talking. So
all right.
Oh.
You did it?
I thought we were supposed to be drawing while you were talking.
If you went ahead and did it, that's awesome. Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to spotlight it just so I can see it. Oh, yeah. No, what I want you to do is, oh, I see you did both.
I thought that's what you wanted us to do.
Just this part. Just this part. But anyway, that's awesome. You did it. You got it done. So you're good.
Thank you.
You're fast.
Oh.
Osiris, how difficult was that on a scale of 1 to 10?
Autistic, it was.
It was
a part of what I have is some autism from being autistic, and so I'm able to impress fast.
Right.
I don't, if I see some, I'm able to impress and then put it down.
Boy,
like
I wish I love that. So excellent. Thank you so much. That is perfect. That's exactly perfect. This is, if you can see it, you can draw it, and you are so illustrate. You're going to be a great drawer. I bet you're already a great drawer. I think you're going to probably find that it's easier than you think. Everybody else, go ahead and take a picture of it and send it across the thread when you're done. This should go pretty quickly. And don't worry about being perfect. I want you more to we're warming up. So if you want to, take a picture, do it again. Let's see. I'm doing it since oops. If you have to erase, you might notice I'm not super focused on getting this done quickly. Good job, you guys. Awesome. So I did that kind of quickly. Nice, Kyoko. Nice, Marcel. Good job, Claudia. Good job. Excellent. Anybody else need a little bit more time? Anybody who's finished with this, what is it that you've drawn? What is this? Anybody have any idea? It is a picture of something. I will tell you that. But the question is, what is it?
Somebody's blouse?
Possibly. Anybody else have guesses? And those of you who know, don't give it up.
And also forest.
Could be a forest or somebody's blouse. I like it. What else? What is this? Maybe a tree. Oh, I'm just dying to show you guys. Is anybody done? Anybody else need more time with this?
Because I see faces, so.
A face could be a face.
I see about 5 or 6 different faces. I'm an abstract artist, so that's what I.
I love it. All right, so I kind of was tricking you guys, or I'm playing with you here. This,
it's upside down.
Yes, this is a Picasso drawing of Igor Stravinsky. And if you don't recognize it, it's not only upside down, it's upside down. This is his leg. So here's what I want. Here's the points I want to make about drawing. And Osiris actually made it very beautifully when she was describing her process. She can impress quickly. She can see what the shapes are. If you know so if I had said to you, if I hadn't told you, if I hadn't broken this out into a piece and I hadn't told you about this, and I had handed you this drawing right side up, and I had said to you, okay, here's a Picasso drawing by Igor Stravinsky, copy his legs. How difficult would that assignment be? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Much harder. The left brain is making us draw the wrong thing.
Your left brain is getting in the way, right? of your process, right? Much harder. So there were some hard things about this. Some people find it difficult to put things in exactly the right places. You'll see I didn't actually manage it quite. It's a little bit different to get things right in places. But other than that, when you're only focused on shape, it's way easier to draw. So actually, an exercise is to draw this upside down. We're not going to do that today. However, I will send you a picture of this through the thread. And if you want to print it out and try it sometime, it's really amazing. This is from a book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. I'm also going to email all of you guys this afterwards because I have some favorite books that talk about right brain. So let's talk about right brain a little bit. What is our concept of
Osiris,
right
you're
brain?
muted.
What's
Osiris has a question, but she's muted.
Yeah. Osiris, yeah.
Now, unlike most people, I have problems with left brain. I'm completely right brain.
So this is why art is the perfect thing for you.
I don't know, how do you, that's what I'm having problems with. Like when you draw, I can capture the image and stuff, but when I actually have to do it, sometimes I have problems controlling my hands or keeping focus on jumping from one thing to the other and all of that. So
let's talk, we'll talk about that. We're going to practice something and we're going to address those issues and we're going to address why that happens. And we're going to start by talking about it right now. So let's talk about what is right brain. So in your concept of left and right brain, guys, what is your concept of what the left and the right brain do? What's your idea?
The left is logic.
That's what people say. I'm going to put it up here.
Language.
Right, or instinct and feelings.
Okay, so, all right. And I hear somebody yelling, no, that's not right. And you're absolutely right. Who's yelling, no, that's not right? Who's yelling that? Yes. So thank you, Kyoko, for bringing this up because this is absolutely wrong, but it's such a deep misnomer that I have to bring it out to show people. So, and it's not, so I'm not setting you up. This is what a lot of people think. And I've taught this lesson all over the world. In reality, the left brain is what we call verbal conceptual. And actually, of course, what we know is the brain, different areas of the brain can pick up different concepts, right? If somebody has a stroke in their left brain, maybe they can, as they relearn something, they relearn it in a different part of their brain. But for the concept of associating a concept with an idea, the left brain is verbal conceptual and the right brain is visual spatial, right? In reality, these are much less loaded terms than this and this, right? I've also heard right brain described as creative, as if creative and logic and analytical, as if these things are not the same. What I want you to get in your mind is that there is a creative logical thinking that's associated with right brain, and there's a creative logical thinking that's associated with left brain, and they're different. And the left brain, which is what most of us are in all the time, verbal conceptual is this. Verbal conceptual knows, here, I'm going to switch up here for a second so you can see me. Hello. So verbal conceptual knows that this is a hand, or whatever language you speak, you associate a word with a concept. And so you all know this is a hand. You don't need to see it to know it, because in your mind, you have the concept hand. And when you think of a hand, the word hand, all these associations come up. That's very important because when we're learning to talk to each other, we're learning to speak. We need to associate word, right? We need to have similar concepts with words and hands, right? Like, so if, for example, so monos, whatever it is, in whatever language you speak, you associate hand with hand and say head, right? We have associations with this. We don't have to see them. There's a picture in our mind that helps us understand what we're saying. So this is a very important brain function. And as we're learning to communicate, as we're growing up, it's really comes into focus. So the brain is constantly naming things and it's constantly adding to the concept. So for example, I'm going to give you something that's going to add to your concept. Is my hand smaller or bigger than my head?
Small.
Smaller, yes.
It appears to be smaller.
Yes, you know everything, yes. So what happens now? Is my hand bigger or smaller than my head?
Still smaller, but it appears bigger.
It's bigger.
Right. It's bigger. Yes, yes. Still smaller, but appears bigger. It's bigger. If you found yourself going, because immediately when I introduced this concept to you, you added this understanding of your verbal conceptual understanding to hand and head, right? So now you know in your brain that like the hand is smaller than the head. But what happens when I do this, right? You're like, wait a minute, the hand is still smaller, as Oscar said, but is actually looks bigger. Or as Osiris said, which is really important in drawing and absolutely the right brain. In right brain logic, it doesn't matter what this is or what this is. It's what we call a visual spatial relationship. So your definition of the thing changes depending on what's closer to you, what's farther away, really what you can see. So you can see how your left brain causes you problems when you're starting to learn to draw, because your left brain has ideas and concepts about something that aren't related to what it's actually doing in visual space. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Does anybody have a question about that? So that's seriously, it's not about, so that's why this assignment is, oh wait, here, let me switch back. So that's why this assignment is easy, but this assignment is hard because you have all kinds of things running through your mind about what legs are supposed to do, what hands are supposed to do, how big things. We try to make things even when they are not. We try to there's all kinds of things that your left brain is going to try to do to jump in and disrupt your right brain process. So how do we counteract that? We start practicing. When we practice drawing, we move into right brain. We practice moving into right brain. And you notice when you're having trouble with something, it's often not the thing it's often because you're not looking at what's in front of you. You're not looking at the shapes. You're thinking about what it is and your ideas about what it is. Does that make sense? Anybody have thoughts about that as we go forward? Okay, so what often happens when we're drawing is that we are having to get out of the concept of what it is and moving into shape. Now, one easy way to do this, as I said, is to put things upside down. Because for some reason, that stops the left brain from blurting out what it is. And if you don't know what it is, it's easier to draw. So here's optional homework assignment. I will send a picture of this across the thread, but my suggestion is that you fold it in half twice. Open it back up. And then you fold your paper in half twice. And you draw it upside down, square by square. But we're not going to do that today. Today we're going to do something else. Where is give me 1 second. Today we are going to draw this. And if this makes you nervous, I want you to notice where this comes from. That's in my book that calls Drawing with Children. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then they realize, wait a minute, this is possible. And by the way, I'm going to give you all of these things. And by the way, I made every single mistake that can ever, actually, that's not true because there's like 10,000 mistakes to be made. And there's some mistakes I make over and over again in drawing. This sort of drawing corrective process happens, here, hold on. There we go. Sorry, just trying to position this. This happens all the time. I'm just trying to get this so you can see both. All right. We are going to focus. So those of you who are using pastels, who've done this before, I'd recommend you do this in pastels.
Yeah, I've done it before, but I want to draw it without a grid. And I
Excellent.
don't know, should I do But should I do it like with the
I'm going to walk you through drawing it without a grid. So you can just follow
Okay.
my directions. Okay, so here's the hard thing. I'm going to walk you through drawing this flower. You guys are going to want to leap in and start drawing it your own way. I'm going to ask you to follow my directions. I'm going to ask you to follow my directions completely. Normally, I'm not quite so anal, but I'm trying to make a point here about what we do when we're starting to draw. So I want you to follow along with me. And what we're going to start with is, oh, and by the way, here, I'm going to switch to I think I can actually add a spotlight. Can you guys see both? Can you see me and the drawing?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. So if my hand is in front of my head, what do I draw first, the hand or the head?
and the outline of the head.
The head.
What do I draw first? What do I draw
The head.
first?
The head.
Why the head?
Because for me, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, that's what I see first is the silhouette of the head.
Right.
And then I figure I can put the hand in there somehow.
How about now?
The side of your face, the side of your head.
Okay. So in reality, the best practice when you're drawing things is to draw the thing that's in front first, because you use that to define everything else rather than the other way around. So I get the idea, which is you want to get the outside shape of everything, and that there is a validity to that. But what I want you to think about is that when you're drawing, you need to define what's here in front first and use that to help you proportion out everything else. If you draw this first, it's hard to know how big to make this. If I draw this first, the thing that's in front, this is a really tricky concept. In Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which I will send you the link to, it's a fantastic book. This woman, Betty Edwards, worked with brain researchers to talk about what would happen when she went into a high school and she put an orange in front of a vase and her students all drew it like this. She's like, why did you draw it like this? They said, we don't know how to do this. Right? And literally there is so when you're starting, we start with what's in front. And then we move. We also start with bigger shapes. So Osiris is also right in that way. We start with bigger shapes, but more importantly, we start with what's in front, and then we use this to define the proportions of everything else. Because we can see it, and everything is in relation to what you can see. It's a little bit like this. Like remove this spotlight so you can see this. It's a little bit like when you draw a vase, right? Or a cylinder on a table. And right? You'd start by drawing the cylinder, and then here's the line for the wall. I don't draw what I can't see, right? I only draw what I can see. And what I can see fully is the thing in front. So in this particular case, we're gonna start by drawing this flower. You guys are going to be able to continue this drawing on your own once we get through the flower. But when we start, what's in front are these little stamen. They're like coming towards you. So we're going to start with them, and we're going to use them to help define the flower. So that starts simply with a dot for the center here. And then rather than drawing these lines first, I'm going to actually start by drawing these little kidney bean shaped dots. So if you'll notice, I'm kind of putting my hand my finger under where I want to draw, so I'm focused on it. And here. So I'm going to start with this. Why don't we draw the lines first? Well, start with this, and then I'll tell you as we draw the lines. And if you want to, you can send me a picture. If you feel like you've got a handle on this, we'll just keep going. At some point, when we get the outer shape of the flower, I'm going to stop and take a look at everybody's work. So let's see. Yeah, this is great, you guys. So good. All right. So this requires that I am constantly looking at this. I maybe remember this much, then I have to come back here and look. So once again, I'm going to go to adding the spotlight. So I have taught this class in a lot of places. And one place I taught it was in Croatia, where I lived. And I remember as I was doing this, right? I was looking, I was drawing, looking, drawing, looking, drawing in a beginning drawing class for kids. One of my friend's daughters came home and the friend called me and said, Daddy, 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 I know how to draw. It looks like this. Right? Like that. So here's a mistake that happens a lot. A mistake that happens a lot is that we stop looking. So we think we look at it once and we think we can remember. And then once we're there, and so we stop looking. And I would say you have the memory for about one line before you have to turn back and look. So everyone should be like this all the time. I will remove it. So you're looking constantly to assess, do you have this in the right spot? Now, once you've got these in, I can add these lines. Notice that this one does not go all the way to the bottom. It kind of attaches in a Y here. Notice this one comes up through the middle. This one goes like this. This one kind of comes through like that, and it kind of intersects with this one. And this one comes off to the side like that. So we don't draw the lines first because I don't know if you noticed this, if anybody has noticed this, but one of the problems with drawing is that we tend to make things too big. So that is a very common thing. So it always helps to define your outer proportions first, right? The outer shapes first. So that, because if you draw these lines first, you'll tend to make them too big. Curve lines are in particular really easy to get too big. And even I, as an artist who work every day, doing art for hours and hours a day, I still make things too big. So be aware that that's a tendency. We tend to, it has to do with us focusing in on things and making them the wrong size. So whenever possible, when I put these dots down first, I've kind of defined my outer parameters and I'm forcing this into something that I know I can fit the whole drawing into. So go ahead and add that in. And then when you're, am I going too fast? I'm ready to go to the next. Okay, the next shape that we're going to focus on, and this feels weird for a lot of people when you're first starting out here, I'm going to sketch it in pastel so you can see it, colored pastel.
Hey, can we put the picture on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Yeah. What color is it in color? Does it exist?
There is no color. It does not exist in color.
So we can just make it up, right?
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to put it in WhatsApp, but first I'm going to do this so you guys can see it. Yes, because you might struggle, and if I can change this. So we're going to start with this outer blue line. It's a little bit tough to see. Here, I'll send it across and you'll really see it. Thank God for WhatsApp. That's all I have to say. If we did not have WhatsApp, it would be a lot harder to teach online. Can you guys see? Maybe I'll turn this, I'll make this yellow or something so you can really see it. Yeah, there we go, in certain places. So I want you to notice that these first lines include no inner lines. They're only the outer shape. So that's one of the hardest things for people to get. We want to go in and we want to draw petals, but in reality, we've got to get our outer shapes correct before we get our inner shapes. Here, I'm going to take a picture of this again with yellow up close so you can really see it. So we're going to take this petal by petal. I'm going to use, I can see that this top petal is lined up with my two stamen on the right here. So I'm going to start with one, and then on the other side, two straight lines. And then I know this is a curved flower, but I'm going to avoid the curves for the moment and kind of build in straight lines. Later, so it's really just 4 straight lines or 2 angle lines if you want to think about it that way. And it ends right here. right next to this little pollinator pod. It doesn't go down. So what a lot of people do is they want to draw it down like this. If you look at this drawing, you will actually see there is no line here. So when you find yourself deviating from the shapes, that's when you start getting into trouble. That's when you start kind of doing pattern making, and your left brain is jumping in to try and tell you what you're seeing, and your left brain is wrong. Your left brain's like, there's petals, womp. Hey, a petal looks like this, right? Petals look like that. So I'll get rid of that for the moment. So for now, because this feels weird. All right, this next petal goes out like this, and then it comes down. So this is kind of an angle line. And notice that where it ends, if I were to put my pencil right across the line, it ends about here. It doesn't go below this dot. It ends about here. Okay, and then even more important, this petal ends lined up with the dot, the center dot here, a little bit to the right. So I can actually go here, come over, give myself an end point so that when I sketch in these curves, I can bring it out a little bit. I don't go too far down. I don't go too far over. So you can see how once we define the thing in front, we use it to define everything else. We use it proportionally to help us get things in the right places. All right. Those of you who are using pastels, I would do this as a light pastel at the beginning, and then you can start layering in your colors as you start to get there. All right. So this next petal, we're going to go through the shape, and then I'm going to stop and take a look at everybody's work. So you tell me if I'm going too fast. I think I'd like to get us through this first shape. So this next shape kind of comes in like this. And I notice when it ends, that it kind of ends it's pretty much lined up. It's a little bit to the right. This petal ends just a little bit to the right of the dot and
Left.
down. Yeah, left, sorry, left. Yeah, see, there we go. There's my right. Sorry, sometimes, so talking is a left brain thing. Sometimes that goes for me. So I'm gonna come here, come over, and then down to give myself the end point right here of this flower. And then I'm gonna take it in pieces. So I see a little curve line like that. I also see, if I want to be really technical, I can see that if I put my pencil, straight down, that this comes a little bit, if I line this up with this outer petal, you can see that this comes in a little to the left. So I can come here and maybe give myself, see how I did that? Sort of find an ending for my petal. And then it's just straight line down. And then you can make this curved. I kind of like to make it straight, not too at the beginning. Oh, and I might want to I feel like I want to bring that up a little bit. Looks a little bit thick to me. So I'm bringing up this line. So here's another thing to note, like I've done this lesson many times. And still, I'm not necessarily getting the things right in the same way. So I have to double check myself all the time. So this is, and this feels weird. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. This next petal, two things we need to note about it. One is that this petal dips down a little bit farther than this, right? So if I put my pencil straight across, and also that this particular end comes kind of at a diagonal to the left from the center and down. So the first thing I want to do is kind of come, and I can even draw that line if I want to, lightly with my pencil. Give myself that dot for the ending. And then the other thing I can do is, well, let's do this first. This is easier to do this. I'm going to start with a little line straight across, right to the left, and then a line down Even though this is curved, I'm drawing it kind of like an angle line. I can soften these into curves later. If I draw the curves too soon, I tend to make them too big. And then down. So it's straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. And now I check. I'm like, oh, this has to come down farther. So I can draw my little tip, this curve line down here. And I can double check it again. See how many times I'm going back and I'm double checking where things are in relation to other things. Okay. And then I'm going to come up like this. And I know this is rounded, but I'm going to break it into two pieces. So it's a straight line out and then a straight line in. And maybe a little, no, maybe I think that's about right, actually. Feels like it's too far out for me, but right now I think this is in the right place. I can thin this out later. I can soften this curve, right? Once I get the outer shapes in. It's very easy to do it. Notice how little it takes to make something look rounded. And then this last petal goes up like this. Let's see. It comes kind of farther out. So we're just going to find ourselves guessing on this one. Comes out like that, right? So that's these two lines. And then I'm going to add a little curve line. And then notice it comes up like this, kind of lines up with this stamen, and then it sort of disappears. So I always end my flower right here. I don't try to connect these two because you'll notice that you can't really see what's happening. So go ahead and finish your shape and send it in. I'm going to take a picture of mine so that you can see it up close. But when you think you've got your shape, send it over. And if, Marcel, great. Marcel, you might want to bring this, I think you need to bring this up higher. This piece, this part. So if you can bring this up a little bit higher, and then you can bring this other petal. Look at this, the space between here. This is a little bit low.
Yep.
So excellent. Really good work. Sandra, great.
It's amazing how much easier this is from the first time I did it. Like,
yes, so it's helpful to repeat it.
Without even thinking, I'm looking where you're looking, like, you know, this is lined up with that, and this is like,
Yep.
Whereas I think the first time I did it, I didn't do that.
It was really hard. It was harder. Okay, Kyoko, not bad. I want you to erase this petal. Okay, so erase this petal. I'll do it here to show you what I mean. And I want yours is down here. I want you to you've got your petal here. I want you to bring it up a little bit closer. Okay, and then you'll see that you'll be able to add this petal in, and it'll look less like it's coming down. So it's easy to get that in that place. There we go, good job. Okay, Osiris, I would say I like this. Can you bring, Osiris, this? I would say do the same thing. I would say, Osiris, these shapes are good. I would say so for everyone, and I struggled with this too a little bit, erase your dot and move it a little bit closer and a little bit higher up. It's still diagonal, but it's a little bit closer. That's going to help you get this petal in the right place. Olga, you should know better. This comes down below. This petal comes down below this one. And this petal comes out further.
Okay.
So bring this out a little bit further so that this is wider, right? Yeah. Emma, nice, great, lovely. Also, make sure not to this petal is smaller. So it's easy to extend it, make it too big. Notice if it's looking too big, you can chop it off here. So here's what's really amazing about this process. Feel free to keep sending them back to me. This, let's all admit, this does not look good right now. Looks really crappy. It looks crappy. It looks like a squashed starfish. It looks terrible, right? And our brain is resisting this part of the drawing process. However, if we get this part right, it's way easier to make our corrections, and then it's way easier to get everything else right. What the brain's instinct to want to do is to come right here in the center, do one petal, do all of this business, then come down here, do another petal, then move up. And because it's really easy to make things too big, you often run out of room. We want that satisfaction of those inner lines there, but it's very important to get used to what we call the awkward phase of a painting. Oh, and when I look at this, I kind of want to slim this up a little bit. So I'm actually going in and correcting my shape a little bit. I'm slimming it up a little bit. I'm adding just a little bit more. I'm bringing this in. See how I can make these corrections, and it's not like detrimental to my entire drawing. Whereas if I start in the middle and draw outward, let's see. So go ahead and keep sketching. If I've had you do a correction, send it in if you want to. And if you feel like you don't like your drawing, that's actually good. If you feel uncomfortable, that is excellent. That means you are pushing yourself beyond. Your right brain hasn't been trained enough. As Sandra said, the first time she did this exercise, it was a lot harder, right? Better, Kyoko, better. Can you make it a little bit thinner here? So skinny out this. Oh, excellent, Osiris, good. Good job, guys. You got it. So even though this looks a little bit bad, it's exactly right. And I think that's the problem we have, is we're not used to judging things spatially, so they look different than we think they should. This is how someone who is maybe just looking at this once would draw this. Boom, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? You know what I'm doing here, right? And then slice, slice, petal, 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 right? Because we want to make things go in patterns. But in reality, this particular lily is turned in a direction, and some things are smaller and some things are bigger, and some shapes are kind of weird and bulbous, and others are, they're just different than we think they are. So we've got to get ourselves out of this idea of this pattern making that our left brain wants to do. Very nice work, you guys. Anybody else want to show me anything before we go in and talk about value and color and fixing this thing so it doesn't look so awful?
I'll send it, but I'm almost sending it.
All right. Take a minute. I don't want to rush you guys. We've got an hour, so we got plenty of time. I will send anybody who wants this. I'll send me your, make sure I have your email address. You can just text it across the thread, and I will send you a list of my favorite books on the right brain and drawing exercises. This book is fantastic. I'll send you a list of tips on how to incorporate drawing into your everyday practice, and we'll just keep coming back here every Saturday and drawing. So. Claudia. Okay, so Claudia, you're having the same problem. This is down too low. So bring it up, and then your petal here will be up. It's down too low. Your petal is here. Got that? You want to bring it up so that there's less of a space. That means you have to bring up this petal.
Okay.
Nice. Got it. So notice, it's easy. We think, we draw for a while, we think we have it, and then we're like, wow, I still don't have it, right? I still don't have it. Is anybody ready to talk about the next step? I'd like to do that. All right, so what direction is the light coming from within this flower? Can you tell? What direction is the light hitting the flower?
From the front of it.
The front of it?
On the upper.
That's the way it appears to be anyway.
I would say like the direction from where that the farthest on the left petal, that which is closed, is pointing in.
This one.
Yeah.
So the light is coming. Yes, the sun is.
I mean,
here,
yeah.
I'm drawing a little sun, so we know what that is. The
Behind
sun.
the flower.
Yeah, the sun is actually coming from the top left, and it's coming down. And the reason that we know that is that everything closest to this is very light. And as we move away, as we move farther away from the sun and things start to turn, they get darker. Can you see that? So yes, this is a light part because actually this petal is sticking up. But you'll notice that the lightest petals, these two, are the ones that are closest to the flower. And that is why they're lighter. And then as things turn away, they get darker. So that comes to our next bag of tricks in drawing, which is shading, right? And that's what everybody wants. We want to know how to shade. So what is shading? Shading is what we call values. If you think of values like this, and I'm not talking about family values, I'm talking about values when it comes to color. If a 1 is what? Or light, and a 5 is very dark, then 2, 3, and 4 will be gradually getting darker, right? So values are the lightness or darkness of any color. Since we only have black and white, that's how we show value. So how many values are in this flower? And I want you to consider this part, even though it looks kind of mottled, it looks like it has several colors in it. Just think of this as light. 1 shade. 3?
I see 4.
I see 4.
Yeah, 4.
4, possibly 5, if you count the background. Right? So if you're counting just in the flower itself, there is 1, 2, here, I'll label them. 1, I'll do it like this. 1, 2, 3, and then the darkest area are these dots and the lines and these things. This is 4, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So
the surface on the kind of biggest petal at the bottom right, that is a bit lighter than the one at the top.
The bottom right. This is a bit lighter than the one. They're actually kind of the same. Are you talking about this one? This part?
No, the thing you are pointing to last.
No, this is I don't overcomplicate this, Oscar. This is light.
Yeah.
This is light. I mean, if you want to look at all the little mottled parts, you can, but basically this is a 1, or this is a 1 and this is a 2, right? If we're just talking about the flower, just think about this as a 1, this is a 2, and that is a 3. And they're pretty distinct and pretty easy to see. So we're going to start by drawing, and these things, by the way, we add last. These dark details we're going to add after we add our kind of basic, bigger, blocked in lights, mediums, and darks. So I'm going to start, let's see, hold on. It would be helpful. Aha. So we're going to start by drawing the shape of the outer shapes. Before we petal, we're going to start with the outer shape of the medium and the dark because they're connected. So I can see those things. Can you see this? So I can see those things. Kind of comes in like this. I've already got my line drawn, and then I can do this little curved line here. Phew. Then I can add this in. And then I can start to shade. If I want to make this easy for myself, I just won't put anything here. If you want to like try and shade this a slightly lighter color than these two, go for it. You're welcome to. If you're working with pastels, you should be picking a light, medium, and a dark. And notice as I'm laying this in, I started with my darkest color so that I have a pretty distinct difference between my dark, my medium, and my light. When I put my light next to my medium, I can totally see it. When I put my medium next to my dark, I can totally see it. The more contrast in your drawings between light, medium, and dark, the better. Since we're working with a flat surface, the better our viewers can see that, the more likely they are going to see that there is a change in the light. I'll be right back, you guys. I can take a picture of this if you want me to send it across, just so that you have the steps. Hold on. So here's what's interesting. The first most important thing in drawing is getting the bigger shapes right. The second most important thing is getting the major lights, mediums, and darks blocked in. And that's not how we teach ourselves to draw. Quite frankly, we like to go from detail and draw out. And the problem with that is once you stop understanding what's happening, how drawings differ, because you're showing 3 dimensions on a flat surface, and how shapes differ, if you don't get the shapes right, you stop knowing how the shapes are working, you draw things the way you think they're going and not the way, not with what's actually happening. Sorry, that was a very awkward way. Emma, nice. Emma, this petal here could be a little bit longer. And notice the negative space between the petal here. So that should be wider. So you can actually draw in this negative space. Nice. I use the term negative space. So negative space.
Sorry, I accidentally went onto.
That's okay, kiddo. All right. So negative space is really important in drawing. What is negative space? Negative space is the space between the subject. It is what is not the subject. And we sometimes forget about it when we're drawing, right? And negative space can really help us, but drawing is like a jigsaw puzzle. So even though you're not really interested in this area because it's not the subject, you need to get the shape of the negative space between the subject right as well. So a lot of times, and like I was just saying, actually having said this, I can kind of correct this a little bit. I was just looking at my negative space here and able to kind of pull it down a little bit. You should continue to be able to correct your shape, your outer shape, as we're adding in these. That's the benefit of drawing like this, is that you don't have to get it all right at the beginning, as long as you get it mostly right. Because then you might not figure out, for example, and we're about to do the second petal, you might not figure this out until you get to the petal and you realize it's the wrong shape. So the beauty of this exercise is that you can continue to correct the shape without wrecking what you've got. Let's go to the next petal. Okay, this looks kind of complicated. How can I simplify it? I'm going to start by drawing the shape of the dark, which is really just coming along the edge here, coming down through the middle and up like that in a straight line. and then drawing this little donut here, and then another straight line. Now I have a couple of options. Before, I can do this simply, or I can do this complicatedly. So here's the simple way to draw it. I can start by going almost up to the center and then curving in towards the side. So that leaves me this little light space, which is actually quite important because it shows that this part of the flower is kind of sticking up. So it's one of the things that gives us a feeling of dimension. And then I can just kind of scribble along the edge to get my dark in. And I have two options here. I can just make this whole thing medium, or I can carve out my medium shapes from within this envelope, this bigger shape envelope. Can you see this? So I can get as detailed as I want. The most important thing is that we have the medium in this area and that there's this little light space between the dark upper petal and the mediums of this lower petal. So you can make that as complex or as simple as you want. Always we're working from bigger shapes and we're carving into smaller shapes. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of this. Yeah, connect this part, Osiris, up here. Make this go, can you make this go straight across? So right now I see this. Right now I see this. Can you make that go straight across? So that there's a definitive light, medium, and dark. Gorgeous shading, by the way, absolutely gorgeous shading. I love that dark. I love that medium. I love the mark making you're using to create it. Really, really good. You guys ready to do the next petal, or do you want to wait a minute? Tell me to wait.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait.
All right. I'll take a picture of this and send it over. I go fast.
Leah.
Yes.
On my screen, can you move it over? I can't see the edge on the right. For me, I'm facing.
This? You want me to move this over a little bit? Yeah, totally. How's that?
Oh, great. Perfect.
Also, I sent you a picture, but I'd rather have you guys be able to see it on the screen. You should definitely be able to see it on the screen. So yeah, totally. Can everybody still see everything? What's nice is we don't have to look at this whole flower. We're just focused on this one area right now. And by the way, you don't have to have this stuff down here because you're going to create a final drawing if you don't want to. This is for me to show you. I'd like you, when we do this one flower, to kind of finish the drawing on your own, adding whatever else you want in there. These are just my silly sketches. Kyoko. Okay, Kyoko, bring this up. This is what you've got, right? You've got this. I want you to erase this area.
I don't have an eraser.
Okay, you should have an eraser always, right, in general. But all right, so just do your best.
Okay.
But know that you should always have an eraser. Are you sure there's not an eraser in your whole house?
I look.
Wow. All right. So, oh, that's beautiful. Marcel, really nice. Very nice. So you're jumping ahead. That's okay. All right, we'll go through. No, that's good. Do it. If you can figure it out, do it. I'm going to jump in here. So Marcel, the last thing you'll do is you'll see that these petals have a different shape. It's a little bit tricky to see. It's actually darker here in the middle. And then it's lighter. It gets darker as these turn in away from the sun. So you can make it a little bit darker here. Then I would go back in and darken these. And now, Marcel, you can add your dots.
Got it.
And your lines. So darken in here. Okay, for everybody else. Once again, I'm kind of coming along the edge here and coming up. And then I'm creating a little point, a little angle. And then this is going all the way in here. Important things to note. This shadow, there's a light area here that needs to be contained. So don't bring your shadow over too far. There's a very distinctive light and dark pattern. And then here is the medium. This is the dark area. I just do the line, just distinguishing the medium. And then these last two petals really have a slightly different orientation. You'll notice that everything else is parallel to each other. So running across the length of the petal, petal, like length, like white, light, medium, dark, medium, light, dark, medium, light. This petal has a slightly, because it's closest to the sun and of the shape that is happening, it's not going 1, 2, 3 all the way across. It's darkest in the center, and then it gets lighter in the center. We have this kind of medium area in the center coming out. It's a little bit hard to see, and up here, we only have like a couple of streaks. It's a little bit hard to see. So once you've done that, you can go back in, darken this, because we know this is darker than our 3, right? Our dark part of the petal. And you can start adding in your dots and your lines, right? That's when you start to add in this stuff. And then your assignment is to finish this drawing however you want to. You can copy this whole thing. You can add just maybe a piece of it, like maybe just the stalk here and a couple of leaves. You can add color to this if you want to. You can just work on this flower. So you can do whatever you want to call this drawing finished using these techniques. And I really appreciate you guys going with me as we're going through it, because I want you, did you notice at any point a kind of instinctual moving in the wrong direction, moving in a different direction than the direction that I taught you, right? You wanted to get more into detail. You struggle to pay attention to the shapes, right? Like all of these things. That is all because right brain thinking, what I'm coaching you is in right brain thinking. It's about shape. It's about shape in relation to other shapes. So actually I totally have this in the wrong place if I was going to do it, right? I'd actually have this shape blocked in as well. But I want you, not bad, Kyoko. So get in these final, it's dark here in the center, and then get these final here. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go out and buy yourself and the other thing, Kyoko, that'll help you.
I found the eraser.
Oh, you're good. It helps, doesn't it? Take a look, Kyoko, at this negative shape between these two petals. So you're going to see that your petal is still leaning down a little too much.
Yeah.
Recreate this shape, and it's going to help you with both your upper shape and your bottom shape. Yours is kind of narrow. So keep working on that shape. All right, and now just start sending me stuff, you guys, and let's talk about this process. I'll take a picture of this so you can see it. What's really going to blow your mind is that all your flowers are going to look different. And that's awesome. Even though, you're all following the directions and doing a great job, I can already see it. You're going to see how much room there is for individualism as we go through this process. Okay, let's see. Here's
Leah.
Yeah.
To take the steps and finish the drawing, whether we do that right now or later, what would be your advice on like the next?
Get the outlines of everything that you want in. So add in everything you want in outline form before you start doing any inner details.
I think that's the hardest part.
What's
me.
the hardest? So it's.
Well, for example, if you didn't just tell me that, I would have done the bulb or the budding flower right above it.
Okay, good. So let's talk about that. So left brain drawing is focusing too much on detail. Right brain is sketching out where I want everything before I get any more detail. So that's what I want. So yeah, so start by sketching in all the pieces that you want in, just the outlines like this. Here, I might even be able to outline them like that. So but it's that's really great. Oh, sorry. Here we go. That's really great to observe about yourself, Marcel, because so you start with this shape, right? Whatever else you want, or if you want to copy the whole thing, notice, right? We start with these outer shapes to make sure we have everything in the right place before you start focusing on detail. Your desire in your left brain is telling you it wants more detail.
Right.
But we know we can't get there until we block in the bigger shapes. I actually find that to be a bit of a relief. Like it's easier to get the shape. Don't you think it's easier to get the outer shapes? It's kind of an easier job.
I think it's more about being impatient. Like I just run ahead and.
Well, but look what happens when you run ahead. You don't get the result you want, right? So yeah. It's training your brain to be comfortable with those outlines, because that is not what we think of as fun. Later, you'll think it's fun because you'll be like, hell, I have everything in the right place. How glorious. So you'll get to a point where you change the way you think about it. And that's because we're exercising our right brain muscle. Right? Your left brain is what's bossing you around and telling you you need to have more detail and this needs to look, because Marcel, you're so good at, you need to be perfect. So you need to get this perfect. You need to get this down right now. And you're also bored. So you want to get this down right now, right? Like it's your left brain that's getting in the way. Right brain knows, oh, I can't draw this detail until I decide where everything is. It's like trying to build a table with very beautiful legs. You can't start by carving a beautiful leg. You have to start by chopping 4 blocks of wood that are the same size. That your table won't be like ragged. And then you have to, chop a boring, like flat piece of wood on top, or whatever it is that whatever shape it is. You want to be able to make sure you have the basic shapes before you add any detail. So after, it feels weird, but after a while, you will, just like yoga or exercise or, lifting weights, the more you do it, the more your brain will be used to it. And then you'll get to a point where you're like, I can't believe I ever did it any other way, which is kind of the fascinating thing. You'll be like, how could I have even thought? Nice, Kyoko. So go ahead and add your dots and your dark lines and darken these center areas. Darken these. Go back over with your pencil and make those darker. Ah, beautiful. Osiris, I think this is down. This petal is down a little bit too far.
Okay.
So I see it down here like this, right? Mm-hmm. So all you really have to do is just erase about this much. Yep. And then make sure that this isn't so dark that you can still see the dark dots and the darker dots and the curved lines that will go on top. So you might want to lightly run over what are you using? Charcoal?
No, just a
pencil.
It's a number 2. Is it too dark?
It might be a little bit dark. So you might kind of run your eraser a little bit over the darkest parts so that you can see your dark dots kind of in your darker dots in that dark field of the flower. So this is a 3 and these are 4. It's a subtle difference. Nice. If you're like thinking that something in your shape is not correct, look at the shape between, I'm going to sketch these in so you can see it. Here's the shape. You can look at the shape between the two petals. Look at that negative space. If you're like, I don't know if I have this right, now is a really good time to come through and kind of shape the outer. Look at these shapes that are between the petals to help you get things. So you could actually sketch in this shape to help you get the right shape of the flower like this. Like, so I'm like, oh, okay, this needs to come down a little bit more. See that? See how I'm doing that? I'm looking here and then I'm doing this. So I make sure my petal doesn't go any longer than this. And then I can just kind of come in and reshape that. So it's not that hard to go in and reshape. This is a practice and a process. So exercising the right brain is a lot like exercising your physical body. It's not something that you get good at. You'll have little victories every time, but you're still gonna, it's a constant learning experience. What we're really doing, what we're really learning here is that when we translate, when we want to create the illusion of 3 dimensions on a flat surface, we can't draw things out, right? We can't draw things beyond this 3-dimensional form. All we have in our bag of tricks as artists is shape and making sure we get shapes right, and then making sure we get our values, our biggest values correct. Well, once we've got that, the details kind of add themselves. The details become very minimal. 80% of the work is getting the bigger shapes right and getting the biggest darks and lights happening. It means it takes a little bit longer to construct a drawing, but you'll be so much happier. And I can see when I've been working with some of you for a while, I can see when every single one of you slips up, decides to go like, oh, I think it looks like this. Art is a very tedious process. There's a kind of tediousness to it that's really such a pain in the ass. It's like, excuse me, I know there are children on this call, but it is. It's a pain in the neck. It's a pain in the neck. It's a pain in the neck, right? Like it's a lot of stopping and checking and rechecking and rechecking again. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm like, I can totally see, oh, this is a little bit thicker. So I need to thicken this out a little bit. It's this constant checking and rechecking. And now I see that means this comes in like this a little bit. So there's a tediousness to this that I want you to embrace, because if you embrace it, that's when your brain, your skill level starts to grow. It's actually owning and accepting the tediousness of drawing, this tedious process, which feels hard, which is tiring, which can be, listen, I'm like so selling the artistic process right now, aren't I? But this way of thinking, if you want to get better at it and you want it to inculcate other parts of your life, if you want it to affect other parts of your life in a positive way, you will really own the fact that I have to keep going back and double checking. I have to keep reshaping. I need to look at see how I'm I'm going over as I'm even talking to you. I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely needs to be a little bit bigger and wider. I'm constantly going through and checking and double checking. And I'm using all my tools to help me do that. And I'm not expecting that I get it right the first time. And so that's the thing about drawing and art that really helps. If you're like, I have to go through these steps and I don't really know how to do it because I'm new to it, right? I don't really know what to look for. Once I get better at seeing shapes, it's like a muscle that you grow. Let's see. Oops. And I've been gabbing and you guys have been sending me stuff here. Hold on. Oh, that's looking beautiful, Osiris. Oh, yay. All right, Kyoko, that's great. So now I just want you to keep working on it. Can you keep working on it after your TV film is over?
She said, "Have your TV."
Oh,
film.
she's gone. She's gone. She did great. Oh, Sarah's really nice. Very beautiful. Wonderful. Beautiful. We have another half hour. So you should be able to get fairly far. And I want you to ask me questions as you're going along. Ask me about this process. Talk to me about what feels hard for you. Any observations? Anybody who's done this before and found it easier the second time? Anything you'd like to tell people who are doing this for the first time? Bye, Osiris. See you later.
No. It was bye to Kyoko.
Oh, you're saying bye to Kyoko. Oh, okay. I was like, don't go. All right, everybody, we got time. Anybody else have any observations about this process?
It makes so much more sense now the second time around.
I can't see the whole image.
The image is, I've emailed you the image. I've texted it on the WhatsApp thread. Good. It's at the very beginning. Let me pull it up again so you can see it. Hold on. Yeah, why is it easier the second time, Sandra? What's the...
I don't know. I think it's because we've gotten better. You've been hammering it into us.
I've been hammering it into you. Here, I'm going to send it again so you've got it again. Here it is at the front of the line.
It just makes so much sense now.
Right. So notice how much resistance there is to these concepts. I think that's like the real thing. It's like, we want to be done with this so we can get to the fun part and go to the shading, you know, and make it look great. And the shapes always look great.
Having said that, it's also because I'm doing it in pastels.
And you're enjoying it more.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually doing this for the third time because first one was in pencil, second one was in ink, and now I'm trying to do this with acrylics.
Yeah.
I remember that the first time it was like really very hard. The second time with ink, it was like much more easier. As Sandra told, like the second time is easier. But now I have this feeling that I want to make it like beautiful because I'm making with acrylic. So yeah. I'm paying attention to details, but still I have like, oh, what color should I add? So
it's more fun that way, right?
Yeah.
Like now you're like,
sure.
yes. It doesn't ever get old. I tell you, I teach this lesson a lot. I really like teaching this lesson because I feel like it covers so many fundamentals. And it's something that can be reviewed. Although I really try to keep it different for you guys. I mean, we will be working from photographs on different subjects. My plan is to give us each week a little tiny drawing exercise at the beginning. Next week, we'll be working on shading. So we'll do a little practice on shading, and then we will jump into a drawing, and we'll talk, and I'll talk to you about, you know, I'll help you. For those, we will do a grid for those who are like, you know, who are newer and want to like rely on the grid, but I'll also show those of you who are interested in learning how to construct like we did today, right? How do I proportion things out correctly? I'll also have an element on that because I think that's those two things go hand in hand. The grid, which we didn't use today, really helps you learn quickly. Oh, here I can be off on my shapes, but learning to draw freehand is helpful. Like that's the goal. That's kind of where you want to ultimately be. So yeah, we'll keep on hammering these ideas in.
Hey, Leah.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you'll cover, I inherited several drawing pencils. And so I don't know if it's worth our time to talk about like when to use what pencil.
Sure. Well, I mean, what have you got?
You know, I've got like 5B, 4B, 2B.
Mm-hmm.
Sketching or drawing pencils, and then a couple charcoals. Not anything, you know,
nice.
more.
Yeah. We can talk about that. I can talk a little bit about that right now. And then we can I can think of ways to bring it into other lessons. So for those of you who have So you'll notice I did this entire lesson with an HB pencil, like what they give kids for class, right? HB. H stands for hard, and B stands for bold, or I think bold, or maybe, I don't know. I have no idea, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. So anyway, the HB is this kind of nice way to start because the lines, it's not too dark and it's not too light. So you can kind of get your initial sketch in. But once you've got things in the right places, the Bs, the higher the number of the B, the darker it gets, right? So so a 4B is really dark, a 5B is super dark. I think Osiris said she was doing her darks. You can see her darks have a very nice tone to them because she was using a 2B, I think. But so the higher you get with the Bs, the darker the lead. There will get to be a point where the dark lead will kind of sit funny on the lighter lead. So you kind of get to, so what I would do is I would start out with an HB. Oops. What happened here? There we go. I would start out with an HB, and then I would, once I've got my shapes in place, you can move to darker Bs, higher Bs to get your darkest areas in. Yeah, H's stand for hard. You might see something called an H or an F, hard and fine, I think they are. So the higher those numbers go, the thinner and finer and sharper your line.
Okay.
Charcoal and pencil don't generally go great together. You can try them, but you will see that like the pencil, let's see, I've got some charcoal here just to see what happens when I lay it on. You'll see. So you have charcoal pencils, I have a charcoal stick.
Yeah.
Although, you know, you'll see they don't exactly blend together. The pencil line will come through, but sometimes charcoal, well, let's see. I think I might actually have a charcoal pencil. So I would just use darker pencils. Yeah, so you can really see it here. It kind of sits in a funny way texturally on top of your on top of your lead, but sometimes that can create a texture that you like, right? Yeah. So you get to experiment with that. I'm not much of a pencil drawer. You can also use it. I guess the general rule of thumb is start out light and then add in the darks once you know where everything is. You can get darker and go over it. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. What other questions do you guys have?
How do you keep the charcoal or pencil from, or do you keep it from, you know, coloring everything? It gets all
mushy. You want to fix
all the paper and all of that. How do you keep it from getting all over the paper and smudging and all of that?
I mean, I'm working on a flat table or a drawing table where I can lean on the table, right? But you can fix your drawings. I don't know if you can fix pencil drawings, but I know you can fix pastel and charcoal drawings. You can actually buy a fixative like this. Here, hold on, I'll show you. So when you're done, here, hold on, I'll show you. I'll get it. So something like this.
Blair, very low spray fix.
Yeah. Some of them, it's workable matte for fixative drawing, so it stops your smudging. So once you're done, you can spray it.
Oh, okay.
And then when it dries, I'm using just computer paper right now because I'm trying not to be too precious about my drawing. It's better to spray fix something that's got a slightly more substantive, like a better drawing paper. But see now, oh wait, no, now it's still wet, so it's totally smudging. When it dries, it doesn't smudge. It fixes everything in place. Spraying will also sort of push the contrast a little bit more. So you can see this got a little bit darker when I sprayed it. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes you want to keep things, you know, exactly the way they are. So it just depends on what you're working on. In pastels, I often recommend not spraying the top layers because you want that color to remain.
Leah, I'm noticing as I'm trying to, do some more of the picture around it, I'm using your dot system where you like go over and make a dot where it's parallel or lower or higher.
Yeah, yeah.
Take away from today.
Is that helping?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so whenever somebody says to you, oh, well, I'm just a connect the dot drawer, you can go, and that is one of the first techniques. It's okay to give yourself an endpoint, right? It's okay to give yourself the edges. I'm glad that's working out. That thing kind of blew my mind when I learned it. Finally, when I finally learned it, I was like, why did I not figure this out earlier?
Yeah.
As for my training, I wanted to tell you guys, I am a self-taught artist. I didn't start drawing and painting until I was 30. I've been a journalist for many years at that point. Well, not many, but 10. So I didn't know anything. And painting, I was fairly natural at, but drawing was really hard for me and I sucked at it. So I took a lot. I've only taken, have I taken any painting? Yes, I've taken one watercolor painting class. I have never taken any painting classes. I've studied a little bit privately with some people, but I've not ever taken a formal painting class. I have taken a lot of drawing classes because I had to understand how this worked. And drawing is very integral to painting. You can't really, well, if you want to paint realistically, you can't really paint realistically without being able to draw. And so a lot of what I learned was like these, these techniques and about thinking about it. And that, it was hard. It was hard. But it got better, gets better. And I wish I could tell you, hey, there comes a point where you stop making mistakes, but that really never happens. So at least not in my experience in 20 years. So
the life. That's a
it's
life.
the life, right? So it's a understanding process. What I really love about this process, which I like to call construction. How do you construct a drawing? Right? Is that there's a lot of parallels between that and paint and writing. There's a lot of parallels between that and using code. There's a lot of parallels between that and building a TV show, right? There are pieces that need to be put together. You need to build a world that's reliable and believable. And so all your pieces have to be in the right order. I found when I started to learn to draw, to get my pieces and my things in the right shape, that all of a sudden, structurally, I was able to visualize my written stories better. I never had problems writing leads after that. I spent a fair amount of time, a good 5 or 8 years, doing journalism after I decided to become a painter. I haven't done it in about, I don't know, a decade or so, but like the first, few years, I wasn't very good and I had to support myself somehow. So I did all kinds of things. And I wrote, and I noticed that writing got a lot easier for me after I learned to draw. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but it definitely was true. I think what happens is we open a new brain process. We get our brain functioning in a new way. And because it's a way that requires all of our time and attention, like when we used to learn to talk, the more we do it, the more it influences everything else, all of our other brain processes. And in fact, one of the things they say, for example, in preventing dementia is to learn a new skill like to learn a new skill like languages, right? Learn a new language. But I think of drawing as a language. It's the right brain language. It has a whole different set of logical components than anything else. So learning to draw, as whatever you're learning, as long as you're having to really focus on it, it makes you tired afterwards. Then, and you're like, oh, and you're making the mistakes. And then in the process of making the mistakes, learning how to do it the right way. That is using your whole brain. And when you use your whole brain, the brain keeps going. It's better for the brain. In fact, apparently mastering something is really terrible for the brain. That's what I heard. Because once you've mastered something, like say learning to drive or learning to talk, it kind of, your brain creates shortcuts to make it easier for you. So then your brain stops working and, and, as you can imagine. Is anybody,
I just sent you my flower. I'm using strange paper and I'm using pan pastel, so
cool. I'm excited.
Not what I'm used to.
Ooh, yeah, but I like it. I like the softness of the pan pastels. I might, you know what I might do? I might find a color that's a little bit darker to go over your medium, because I feel like your medium and your light are too similar.
Okay.
We either need to lighten the
I can't seem to lighten. I don't have something that light.
Then I will darken your medium just a bit with something else, but that's nice. But I can see it. It has a kind of floaty feeling. Ah, yes, and it's the paper with all the teeth. It's
that shitty, it's called Mi-Tinte Pastel.
Yeah, I hate that stuff.
I don't want to use my $50 pack paper.
I don't blame you. That's perfect.
Spend only 2 hours.
Hey, Sandra, do you have any pastel pencils?
Yes, very much.
You might take a pastel pencil and do a little contour, add some stronger lines around the outline. I think that'll help push the flower forward a little bit.
I'll do that.
Yeah. So darken this a little bit, and then use that to push the flower forward. But I like it. I think it's pretty.
Well, it's better than my first flower. I can't remember.
Well, that's good. I don't like to make you guys repeat stuff, but I think this is one of those universal lessons that's always good to get. There's so much information in it. Somebody else send me what you're working on. What are you guys working on? Send it over. Is anybody planning on joining Marie and I tomorrow for pastel landscapes?
Yes.
Okay, that will require that you have pastels. Although you could, Marcel, if you wanted to do it, you could probably do it in watercolor, but it'll be a different.
Yeah, totally. I'm a maybe. I think it'd be fun to ride along. I'm not expecting instruction per se on watercolor, but I think it'd still be fun for me.
I can help you a little bit because Marie's teaching and I'll be there for the next month. So just helping with her. So I might be able to help you a little bit as we go along.
I'm not sure I'll make it or not, but I'll try.
Yeah, if you want to, go for it.
And could I do this with acrylics?
Yes. Yes. If you want to, you can totally do it with acrylics. Yes. And eventually she's going to move to, but I want you to try and follow her, Olga, in how she lays colors down. So even though they behave differently, I want you to watch her.
When is she link and all that stuff to it?
That will happen. She is, do you mean a supply list?
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are doing. this is my first time.
Oh, okay. So the Zoom link is the same. You'll just show up at this Zoom link at 9 o'clock LA time tomorrow. And I can add you to the thread and I'll have her send the supply list over to you. She should, I'll talk to her today. She should send what things you need. If you also wanted to, it'd be tough to do it as a pencil drawing. But anyway.
You know what she's doing?
I think she's gonna do something like this. She did this and I wanted her to do that. Here, let me show you. It's really cool. She did this little step-by-step the other day and I thought it was so cute. I thought she should do it. So it starts like this. And then goes to.
Oh, that's nice.
Hold on, it gets better. Wow. It gets better. It's even better. It's like, and then it goes to this. So she just posted this on, yes.
But just a minute, I'll be right back.
Okay. Then it goes to this. And then the final looks like, yeah. I love this because when Marie is a former student of mine, and then here's the final. So I thought it would be fun to do something like that. Did that get you guys excited?
That is gorgeous.
Isn't that gorgeous? So what I really love about Marie's process is that when I introduced her to, she was already a pretty good painter when she came to classes with me 3 years ago. When I first introduced her to pastels, she hated them. And she has since become incredibly good at them. Like, so she also is one of those people who understands where it's hard to get the pastel, right? It's hard to understand the new technique. And now she's completely, I mean, she's a beautiful pastel artist. Her pastels are out of this world. And I thought I would have her start with pastels. Eventually in her landscape class, she will move to painting. But I thought we would have her start with pastels just because a lot of people have them who are in the program. And
Yes.
Paint medium oils.
what's that? Her medium is oils, but you can use acrylic if you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, she will, when she goes to painting, she'll go to oil paint. Though acrylic will work, and as we know, watercolor is a little bit different in application, which is why I'm really trying to find another, which is why I'm really trying to hone in on when to offer it, so that everybody can get it. The big problem with doing a weekday class is that Europe can't do it, so it's too late for them. But I'll figure it out. We'll get it.
And no hurry.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
Okay. But I would like to get it in because I think it's such a different medium. It would be fun to have some instruction on it happening all the time. You just watch, you guys. I'm going to have you doing this all the time. All right. So the other thing I'm going to send to everybody here is a little schedule of when all the classes are. Let's see. Oh, very nice, Marcel. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Fun. Now it's starting to get fun, right? Yeah. Once you can get past that, like, so that's what you're going for, is a little bit of pain at the beginning so that there's more gain at the end.
No, I loved it.
We've got about 10 minutes left. So in the next 10 minutes, I want you guys to kind of end where you want to end and photograph and send it in so that we can all see what everybody is doing. The other thing I'm going to do, I have a little calendar, like I said, which has our weekly class schedule. So I'll try to email everybody that schedule so that you know when classes are. And you can just sign up and go. Everybody ready to have a better year? Are we ready for 2021 to be great? Yes. For you particularly, Sandra, yes. Yes. And just to let you guys know, these classes will never get so big that you can't all fit on one Zoom screen. I want you to get to know each other. And I want you to spend time. And I know there's a lot of Zoom fatigue. A lot of people are spending a lot of time on Zoom. So the idea, I know this is Zoom and that's a little bit frustrating, but the idea behind it is that we are connecting and not, unless you want to be quiet, right? Unless you're wanting to do things silently, which of course you totally have the right to do. I want us to be able to get to know each other and see each other's progress. And that's important. So small classes are important for me. If there's a lot of demand, we'll just create more classes.
So Leah?
Yeah.
Will we be able to, over time, because my whole purpose of drawing I draw, but I draw weird stuff. It just, because I
Yeah.
draw what comes in my mind, not looking at something.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, but you know, if you call that art, you know, that's art. But we would be able, I want to be able to apply drawing to painting.
Yes, this is absolutely designed to apply drawing to painting. Yes, yes.
Because sometimes I like to draw people, not them be so surreal.
Yes, I know. You want a little bit, yep, absolutely. And ultimately, come through the year with me, we'll get to figure drawing. Ultimately, we'll do figure drawing. We're going to do portraiture. We're going to do a lot of things.
That's what I'm talking about.
A lot of these guys who are in this class have already gone through one round of that. They're nodding. Some of them are like, Jesus.
It was so hard.
It was so hard, but it'll be easier the second time around. So I try to revisit subjects every year at around the same time but beginning drawing anyway. So yes, we'll get to all that stuff. The idea is to start to learn how to look and see.
How to look at it, yeah.
How to translate 3 dimensions on a flat surface. There's a translation that has to happen. And so my job is to show you how to do that. Let's see. Great work, everybody. Olga, very nice. Oh, Sandra, that helped a lot, I think. Claudia, nice. Woo, yeah, you're using pastels. The people using pastels are doing fancy dancy things right now.
I see.
Claudia, I am gonna tell you, you lost this shape. But other than that, there's no, the reason the flower looks a little funny is that you've lost this shape in between. So I want you to, I'm going to push you to pay attention to this as you're going along. Right. Although I absolutely love it. It's beautiful, but you see the problem, right? That shape is a little bit off. And this shape, and because this shape doesn't exist, the flower looks squished on this side. But otherwise, I really like it. Very nice, gorgeous colors. And I love God, how fun. Olga, and that's paint? That's good, Olga.
Yeah, it's acrylic.
So I would say the only issue I've got is that your medium looks too much like your dark. I can't really tell the difference. So you need to lighten the medium a little bit more.
Yeah.
Lighten the medium. Maybe try, if you want to get wild and crazy, maybe make a teal or a turquoise your medium instead of keeping it with purples. I think it would look really gorgeous with these other colors. So, and really make it pop out. Try it. That would be my suggestion. I don't like to tell people too much about color. I mean, we'll talk about color. I don't like to tell you what colors to use because what I would choose might be very different than what you would choose. I don't want to shut that process down. Very nice. Send over.
Who is Good Things Matter?
That's me, Marcel.
Oh, it's very nice.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead and add if you don't, go ahead and put your name in with your picture so that everybody can add you. If I have you added as a contact, then you automatically show up. But if you're new to someone, they won't see who is who. So for example,
another question. How, because I am such an empathic and impressionable energy.
Yes.
How do you study, or can you help us study and look at the works of others without taking their stuff? And because I want my own stuff, but I'm inspired by other people, but I want to be able to express it myself. I don't want to be a Picasso. I don't care. I don't want to be any of that. I just want to be me. But how do you study the works of others without having it impress you so much that you lose your own way or something?
Well, that's such a good question. And I have a great answer for you. I have a beginning of an answer for you. So one of the things you'll notice if you look, Osiris, across this thread at everybody doing the same thing, you'll see how different it looks. You'll see how paying attention to technique still allows for voice to come out. So it's impossible for all of you to do the same flower, even though you're copying the same flower, right? So even though we're copying this, it's still coming out. Your voice is still coming out. So if you want to learn about Picasso, you copy Picasso. You're not going to paint like Picasso. Only Picasso can paint like Picasso, but you will learn things by painting like by copying a master's work. You'll learn things, just like you'll learn things from painting with everybody else, but you're still going to do what's you. As you can see through here, everybody's flower still looks different. And it's not just the ones who are using pastel versus the ones who are using pencil. Look at everyone's, I want to make sure everybody takes a picture when they're coming towards the end so we can see how these look. You'll see that these flowers still look different. And that is voice. That is our voice.
And so how do you retain the rawness? If I were an art person and I needed to find an artist that I could promote, I would go to some foreign land with a kid that has never been to school, never seen anything, and that's who I'd pick.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to retain. I'm trying to retain the child in me.
I don't think you can help.
Child.
I don't think you can help it. I think it's just there. I think it's there. I think what I would say is don't worry about it. It's there. It's there in everything you do. So the difference, so here's the difference. My friends, when I lived in Eastern Europe, and I had friends who were artists and they went to art school. The problems that they had with art school was that their art school was too rigid. They demanded that everything look exactly the same. I would never ask you to do that. I am telling you to try and use this as the inspiration and to pay as close attention as possible to the pieces so that you have something that feels substantial, but you're still going to do this differently. It's still going to look different because it's your hand. So I would say trust that your voice is there all the time, but if you want to learn something from an artist, copy them. So for example, start by drawing this guy upside down, Picasso's drawing of Igor Stravinsky. See how well you can do that. You'll learn a lot just by trying, and you won't draw like them because nobody can draw like them, only they can draw like you, but you will draw like you drawing them. I don't think we have time really to try and mold our self to any technique. I think the only thing we have time for in class is to, or in life, is to draw like ourselves and paint like ourselves. So my whole idea of talking about technique is it doesn't matter what you do, you're still going to do it like you. And if you copy someone, it's still going to look like you. So the goal of copying is not to get them exactly right. It's just to try and get in their mindset to see how they would lay something down. Yes, that's a great way of saying it, Marcel. It's a need to learn the rules so that you know how to break them. That's a great way of looking at it. But just look at the beginning. You'll see everybody does this differently. Everybody's, so whoever is still working, Oscar, Emma, Osiris, let's see your last one. Let's see, we've got Olga's, let's see your last pieces. Send them out so that the group can see. And put your name in the text with your photo so that everyone knows who you are.
Once we've sent a photo, how can we do that?
You can just send it, yeah, you can just send a note saying, this is Sandra.
Or like
a note with the, yeah, take a picture again and send it with the, and then I mean, maybe I can do it.
I think I just reply to it and put Sandra.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh, Oscar, great work. Good work, my friend. Oscar, very nice. All right, I hope I see some of you tomorrow in class.
So tomorrow it's at noon. Oh,
it's at noon. It's a little bit
earlier.
Half an hour earlier. So yeah, if you want to, let me know and I will register you. There you go. I will register you.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, in the group. I'll just put you on the thread and then I'll talk to Marie. Oh, Emma, nice. Yeah. Wonderful. Shape, Emma, your sense of shape is getting so good. Oh, lovely, Arsa. Oh my gosh, lovely. Yeah, don't worry about it, you guys. You're all doing what you do. It's already there. If you look really closely, you'll see no one's flower looks the same. even though you're all worked really hard. And Emma, I want to credit you. Your shapes are really coming along. Like you're getting really good with shape. That is a hard thing to get, and you've really grasped that in this flower. What will happen is, as you get better with things like shape, getting the shape right, being able to see it, knowing how it translates onto a flat surface, you'll be able to play with it more. You'll be able to like play with that. So anyway, you guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And welcome. I will make sure that all of you get a copy of the new schedule so that you know when classes are. I will email that out to you. Hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow. I'll see some of you next week in class, depending on what we're doing. And let me know if you've got questions in between.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Great work
guys.
today.
Happy New Year.
Nice meeting everyone. Thank you.
Nice to meet everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.